Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to start by asking for a little bit of audience participation, and I don't want you to be intimidated. All I'm asking for is a show of hands. I'm going to ask 3 questions. First of all, please put your hand up if you've drunk a cup of tea today. Thank you. That was the trick question, just to get you confident to put your hands up, because I assumed everyone would. The second question: who here has drunk a value-added tea product, let's say in the last month or 2? I'm talking a matcha latte or a ready-to-drink tea product from a bottle, something like that. Please put your hand up. Thank you. Of those people who put your hand up, how many of you took a picture of that and posted it on social media? Instagram, TikTok, something along those lines. For those who can't see around, I'm seeing maybe 5, 6 hands. Thank you very much for your honesty and participation. I'll explain why I asked those questions in a minute. It will become a little bit clearer as we move along. So let's talk about the state of tea drinking, specifically black tea in the UK. For decades, we've observed a clear trend. Traditional black tea drinkers are aging. Younger generations aren't picking up the habit as much as their parents or grandparents had. Year after year, we're seeing a steady erosion of tea drinking in the UK, dropping by 1, 2, even 3% a year. And when I started in the industry 20 years ago, we were importing about double the amount of volume of tea as we do today, which is astonishing. So why is it happening? I think a lot of you know the competition for share of throat, as we call it, is fierce. Obvious competitors are coffee, but obviously ready-to-drink products, juices, energy drinks are now huge. Meanwhile, tea remains one of the most affordable drinks in the space. But unfortunately, affordability can also create challenges. Cheapness isn't always exciting. Cheap can suggest low quality, something basic, unremarkable. So we're at a crossroads. If we want tea to thrive and not just survive, we have to appeal to new generations who have very different preferences. Younger consumers often prefer cold drinks over hot ones. They're far more likely to reach for something ready to drink than brew their own, and they want interesting flavors. They want something bold and different. And it's tempting to look enviously at coffee, like the likes of Starbucks, who changed coffee from just a drink to an experience. But even the likes of Starbucks may be looked at as old-fashioned in the future. All companies face this fundamental truth. If you don't innovate and reinvent yourselves, you risk becoming irrelevant. We often compare tea's price point with other beverages. Coffee can command £6, £7 in the UK sometimes, and tea, people struggle or don't feel willing to pay more than a few pounds for it. The price has been anchored in people's minds because of the price they pay at home. So why are they willing to pay more for coffee and not tea? Partly it's because they can make tea cheaply at home, but partly, which we've heard already today and yesterday, the experience of tea out of home is frankly rubbish. I very rarely order tea when I'm out in a restaurant or a cafe because I'll be presented with a cup of hot water with a tea bag next to it. That's not good. And so what do we do to change this perception? How do we add value? We talk within the industry about provenance, quality, history, how we need to teach our consumers about all these wonderful things about tea. But here's the reality. Consumers aren't going to invest their time learning about the things that make tea truly special. Earlier, I asked about who's sharing their tea pictures on social media. We often talk about social media influencers as if they're only relevant to teenagers, 20-somethings on their phones. But social media is not just for kids, as we all know. Despite having grey hair, I actually class as a millennial, which we always think of millennials as young. I'm in my 40s now. People who are, social media is basically impacting all generations, including older generations. And the influence of these platforms has overtaken traditional media and is gaining ground with older folk as well. On TikTok and Instagram, you have milliseconds to grab someone's attention. You don't have minutes to talk about how wonderful tea is. You've got to be quick. So, what works? Visuals work, short, punchy stories work, emotions trump facts every time. We can't expect consumers to fall in love with tea just because we know how great it is. We need new strategies, and I would dare say new voices in the industry. Given the amount of people that put their hands up about sharing their pictures, I think we need new people in the industry who are able to drive some of this. That doesn't mean abandoning our roots or compromising quality. It means adopting new approaches, supporting innovative new brands. So, just to give you an example, I mean, we've seen some good examples on slides already, but this is matcha, as you well know. Look how it has exploded onto the scene in the last few years. It's not just a product, it's an experience. Bright green lattes in beautiful cups, health benefits touted by celebrities, recipes that go viral, and it's packaging, you know, it's things that stand out. So, I mean, our goal is pretty clear. We want to make more money throughout the value chain, producers, traders, retailers, packers alike. But it needs to be for the long term. But younger consumers won't pay more for tea unless we're giving them something truly disruptive, something new. Our current business model relies on big volumes, small margins, big packing facilities, efficiency. Now, smaller brands won't replace that business model, but new niche brands can supplement, fill in the white spaces in the market, deliver products that people want right now and quickly. So we need both models working together, so the larger one, the current one, supporting the newer brands. Disruptive brands are nimble, they launch quickly, minimum sunk costs, and they focus relentlessly on design and communication, especially social media, because first impressions matter the most. The lean startup approach allows failure, and that's built into the business model, and it's a good thing, because it means that they'll get to the right solution quicker. But anyway, even if you've got beautiful packaging and you've got amazing comms, it doesn't guarantee success. One critical factor is trial. We need consumers to be able to try these new products, and where they're going to do that, it's cafes, it's restaurants, it's hotels. That's where consumers are willing to try something new. Now, eye-catching visuals at the point of sale are critical. We've seen an example of that with Chai Point, making it look like an experience. Training staff in these venues is key as well. You want to be served by someone who knows what they're doing and something that you can do yourself at home, just like a barista would. That will allow people to feel not just happy to pay £5 for a cup of tea, but feel excited to do so. Let's bring it back to some examples. I want to give a couple of case studies of where Tetley has added value in the tea supply chain. So the example here is super greens. If there's one mega trend shaping consumer choices right now, it's health. You see it everywhere across supermarket shelves, on advertising, social media. It's not a niche concern, it's an expectation. People want to feel good about what they put in their body, and they want products that promise tangible results, not just a vague idea of wellness. So, with super greens, our objective was how can we make a hard health claim on tea? How can we make a claim on packaging? Could we do something others haven't managed and create a new segment in the tea industry? Of course, ambition is one thing, regulation is another, we've already heard. Anyone who tries to put a claim on a package has to go through very tough compliance, for good reason. Every word is scrutinized by regulators. So our solution was to develop tea blends fortified with vitamins, blends that could genuinely support immune health, for instance. But as anyone who's also tried vitamins, you know they don't always taste great. No one wants their cup of tea to taste like a chalky supplement. So we had to ensure that the tea tasted good as well. In addition, we had to ensure consistency of dosage. Every cup had to deliver the exact amount claimed, for good reason again. So this meant working closely with suppliers, investing in rigorous quality control, refining the blends to get that balance between efficacy and enjoyment. So what happened with this? We smashed our targets. Sales were 200% plus more in the first year when we first launched. and we grew the brand to more than £2 million per year. And it didn't stay local, it's gone global, so we've launched these teas in all of our markets around the world. And it wasn't just a new product, it's a new sector. Now in the supermarket, there are a whole range of teas with supplements in them where there wasn't before. But as with any good idea, success attracts attention. It wasn't long before other brands launched their own products, and therefore crowding out the space, because in today's marketplace, you have to move fast. You have to create products, get to market, but obviously expect others to imitate. The idea is about continuous innovation. But either way, Supergreen shows us what's possible if you mix real consumer insight, which is the desire for health, technical expertise, creative marketing. So you can add value, and we did with Supergreens. So let's turn to one more example from the Tata portfolio, which is tea pigs. So for decades, the UK tea market has been dominated by big tea brands. That's Tetley, PG Tips, Yorkshire Tea, Typhoo, and it's become synonymous with those kind of brands. But as we kind of saw earlier on the first slide with the aging tea consumers, these brands have felt older for the consumers as well. They're starting to feel more old, traditional, a bit corporate, not as exciting. Meanwhile, the category has been stuck. We've been selling tea 240 bags for £3 in the supermarket. So it's been a race to the bottom on price, and there's been little to differentiate between the brands. So for many shoppers, tea has become an afterthought, something that you buy out of habit rather than excitement. So what did we set out to do with tea pigs? The objective was to increase the perceived and actual value of tea in consumers' minds, not by competing on price or even tradition, but by launching a disruptor brand that felt completely different from the competition. The idea was to focus on modern design, bright colors, playful fonts, transparent packaging. Everything had to be high quality, including the tea inside the box. And it wasn't just about aesthetics, making it look pretty. It was about making every aspect of the product feel special. Whole leaf teas were used instead of fannings or dust, which in the UK wasn't something people are aware of, but it brought it to mind that there was a USP. Biodegradable Temple tea bags, flavors and blends that were new to consumers. Of course, there were significant barriers along the way. Tea pigs launched at a price point far above what consumers were willing to pay. And the supermarkets were skeptical because we were selling tea at £4 for 15 bags, and you could buy hundreds of tea bags for the same price. And that made it also difficult to get into the supermarket shelves. Competition is fierce. But here's where the strategy made a difference. Tea pigs invested heavily in social media, in direct-to-consumer engagement, working with cafes and restaurants, basically building up the loyalty from the ground up. They focused on building buzz, they made Instagram-worthy pictures, so that enabled them to get the name recognition to enable people to go to the supermarket and pay. The results, nothing but extraordinary. We've grown to 2% of the UK market, which sounds tiny, but translates to about $20 million of revenue per year. Their social media reach, I say our social media reach, is staggering. Over 25 million consumers engaged worldwide, and you can find tea pigs around the world now. Not just popular, but also we've got over 180 Great Taste Awards. I can't tell you how heartening it is to be able to put amazing teas to consumers and get them to pay for it. It is possible. But perhaps the most important thing with tea pigs is we've never stopped innovating. So we're bringing in new blends every year. We've got Manuka honey blends for immune support. There's a juniper and strawberry blend this year. So it's incredibly important to keep innovating. So the challenge now is how do you move from a niche brand to mainstream? And there's no one answer, but it's important to continue innovating, deepening trust with the consumer, growing that volume, but reinvesting in the brand. So again, tea pigs, proof that you can add value, even in categories that you think are commoditized. My final slide, I just want to showcase, these are not Tata products, but I just wanted to show you 5 examples of what innovation looks like in tea at the moment, in my view. 5 different examples of innovation. The first one I've got on the left-hand side, a spiced pumpkin pie matcha. So these are two of the biggest trends in food and tea. Matcha, which we've already talked about, but spiced pumpkin pie, which is more of an indulgence flavor. So it's mixing the health and indulgence together, but it feels fresh, it's different. And this is launched as a seasonal thing. So it's just brought out for a few months and then it goes again, having the flexibility to bring new things to market quickly. The second in the green packaging there is matcha mixed with lion's mane mushroom. And for those of you who don't know, lion's mane is considered a mushroom that helps with cognitive health. And it doesn't taste like mushrooms, I promise. It does sound a bit weird, but again, it's tapping into the functional element of the tea with the mushroom as well as the health benefits perceived around matcha. The third product, which are called Off Black on the far right there, this is all about packaging. This is making tea look sexy. It's something that you can give as a gift, you can have in your house and show off with. It's more about the product, it's about the experience, and bringing that home with you. You feel like you're bought into a brand and into a kind of experience rather than just some tea. The picture right at the bottom there is really about appeal to the youth, about teenagers, 20-somethings, bold, colourful graphics, messaging that speaks their language, but what's really important is about it's Instagram worthy, it's stuff that you can share online. And finally, we've got Zoetic, which is an Australian brand which focuses on sustainability, organic tea, and this is really tapping into the new generation's desire for something that fits in with their core values. So this is sustainable tea, organic tea, but still in beautiful packaging. So these 5 examples are just showing you what's out there and what's possible at the moment. So what really is innovation today? It's about flavor fusion, functional ingredients, giftability, youth appeal, sustainability, all brought to life through design and storytelling. And if there's one thing I want you to take away today is that tea isn't standing still. We have endless opportunities to surprise and delight our consumers, whether they're looking for health benefits, gifts, or something new. So to wrap up, the market's future lies in our ability to innovate, embracing health trends, reimagining brands. So thank you very much.